Hi, first graders. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Today I'm going to read you Clever Tom and the Leprechaun. But before I read, let's take a sneak peek. This is Clever Tom. Let's look at the back cover. All I can see is Clever Tom lying down. Let's look at the first few pages. Clever Tom and the Leprechaun by Linda Shute. For Libby Thompson with love. Clever Tom and the Leprechaun. One fine day, on Lady Day in the harvest, Tom Fitzpatrick took a ramble down the lane. Click-clack, click-clack, he heard through the hedge, so Tom tiptoed closer to take a look. The clacking sound stopped when Tom peeped through the bushes, and in the shadow, what did he see? Why, a big gallon pitcher and a teeny tiny man with a brown leather apron and a three-cornered hat. Now we're going to pause and make a prediction. What do you think might happen next? My prediction is he's going to try to capture the leprechaun. I wonder what the leprechaun's doing. Up the small man climbed on his wee wooden stool and dipped his little piggin into the crock. Then he settled down with his full mug beside him to hammer on the heel of a fairy-sized shoe. By the powers, thought Tom, it's a leprechaun. If I catch him and scare him, he'll give me his gold. Since I'm a clever fellow, that should be simple. Before the sun sets, I'll have my fortune made. Tom stared at the leprechaun and tried not to blink. He knew that if he looked away, the old man would escape. Then he crept up quite near and tipped his hat politely, saying, "Good day to you, neighbor. Blessings on your work." "Thank you kindly," said the small one, but he never looked up. He just kept on tapping on the heel of the brogue. Did you know that leprechauns make shoes for fairies? Do you see the tiny shoes this leprechaun is making? Tom moved his hand closer while he smiled very sweetly and said, "Today's a holiday. You shouldn't have to work." The leprechaun frowned and answered Tom sharply, "If I do, that's my business and none of your own. Instead of pestering me, young man, you ought to be watching your father's field. Look here, the cows have broken into the oats. See, they're knocking the corn all about." Cows in the cornfield? Tom's head started turning. Uh-oh, make a prediction right now. I think Tom's going to turn his head and the leprechaun's going to get away. Remember what they said earlier? If you stop looking at the leprechaun, he could disappear. But he wasn't fooled by the leprechaun's trick. Quickly, he grabbed the sly fellow and cried, "Now you're my prisoner. Tell me, where is your gold?" The leprechaun wiggled and twisted and whined. "I'm just a poor man." But Tom held him fast. "You and I both know you're lying," said Tom, and he made a fierce, frightening face. Finally, the leprechaun quit squirming and said, "Tom Fitzpatrick, you're too clever for me. I see you're after my buried treasure, so I'll have to show you where it is hid." With his eyes on the bitty man locked in his fist, Tom followed where the leprechaun led him. He traipsed over a hill and under some hedges and through a ditch and across the peat bog. At last, just when Tom feared he'd been hoodwinked — hoodwinked means tricked — he found himself in a great field of weeds. "Dig here," said the leprechaun, pointing to a bush. "Dig under that bouillon where I put Deep under that bullion is where I put my gold. Thunderation, said Tom. I need to fetch my spade. When I return, I'll be lost. There are 40 acres of bullion here, and each plant looks just like the other. Still watching the leprechaun, Tom figured out a plan. He tied his bright red garter on the bush. His garter is this red ribbon right here. Swear, you old rascal, that you won't take this off while I run back to get my spade. That I will promise you, said the wee man. Tom grinned, knowing leprechauns always keep their word. Now, since I have shown you where my treasure is, I don't suppose you'll need me any more. No, said Tom. My fortune's made. You may go, and good luck with you. Then goodbye, Tom Fitzpatrick, said the leprechaun. May you do much good with what you find. Away Tom ran as fast as he could run, figuring how he'd spend the gold. Then back he came with a shovel in his hand, back to the field of bullions. What do you notice has happened? But when he got there, lo and behold, a garter just like his own was tied to each and every bush as far as he could see. Wow, look at all those red garters on all the bushes. The leprechaun tricked him, didn't he? Tom dug under the bullion where he thought he tied his garter, but nothing was buried under that bush, so he dug under another. He dug to the east, and he dug to the west, and still he found no treasure. The harvest moon rose as he dug to the north, and it set as he dug southward. When the sun came up, Tom saw he dug 100 holes, and tired Tom Fitzpatrick knew he couldn't find that gold, so he gave up and headed for home. From then on, Tom always carried his spade, and he never stopped listening for a tapping in the field. Every chance he got, he'd tell how he nearly found the gold. And since I'm a clever fellow, Tom would end his tale, the next time I catch the leprechaun, I'll have my fortune made. There's Tom as an old man. The end. So let's go back to the very end when Tom couldn't find his gold. When you made your prediction, were you right? Were you surprised at the end? I was surprised because I thought Tom was going to find his gold, and I didn't expect the leprechaun to tie a red ribbon on all the bushes. That was a really smart thing to do. Now I know that leprechauns are really very clever. Happy St. Patrick's Day.